Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a lovely day. Today is Thursday and I thought I would just do a video answering a question that I do get asked quite a lot and have been asked quite a lot in the past as well. And I know people with twins have asked me, not just me, I'm not saying hey I know everything, but they know that we separated our twins at school, and people just want to know why and the pros and cons to that. We chose a primary school that had 2 classes per year, so we had the option to separate them. At the school we chose, it was the parents' decision, whereas I know that some schools they decide. Another school we looked at had a class and a half per year, and it's done by age. So obviously they would have been put in together because obviously they're the same age. But we didn't get into that school anyway. So the school that we sent the girls to, we had that option, and it was the parents' decision. So I looked into this quite a lot. I spoke to lots of different people who had older twins. I spoke to my friend who was a twin. So I asked her whether she was separated, what she felt about that. And from all the information that I gathered and I looked into, and also looking at my girls, that's one of the biggest thing, is look at your own children, because it's different. What is right for my children is not necessarily right for someone else's. But we decided that the right thing to do for them was to separate them. Now the reasons we decided this was, there's quite a few. Both my girls were very, very shy and still are. And yes, although they were very shy, Chloe was a little bit more outgoing than Lucy. Lucy was the shyer twin. And what I didn't want to happen was that Chloe would do all the talking for Lucy and Lucy would just end up sitting further and further back. I wanted to bring them both out of themselves. I wanted them to learn how to make friends for themselves, because they'd never had to do it. They always had each other. I wanted them to be able to learn that. I didn't want them to be in the same class, one of them be off ill and the other one not having anybody to talk to or any friends, because she's never made friends because she always had her sister. So that was another reason for separating them as well. Also, I sort of figured that at some point in their life they're going to be separated. So whether we did that at primary school, whether it happened at secondary school naturally because of different academic levels, and obviously when they get older and maybe choose to do different things, you know, one might want to go to university. So I figured that it's actually better to do it earlier than them be together and then have to do it later. So that was another reason. Another reason was I wanted them to be able to come home and tell me what they'd done that day, rather than them coming home, Chloe go, oh, we did this, we did this, we did this as a class. And I said to Lucy, what did you do? Well, I did the same as her. Whereas if they're in different classes, then they might do different things, different situations happen. So that was another reason. I wanted them to be able to come home and tell me about their day like any other child would. So that was another reason. I also, this is where I spoke to people who were twins, because I am not a twin. I don't know what it's like. I can only imagine. My girls are identical, and although now they don't look very similar because they have different, one's got fringe, one hasn't. When they were younger, they did look very similar. And a lot of people did get them confused. And I thought that that must be the most annoying thing in the world, to be keep being called your sister. So I figured again, if they were in separate classes, that wouldn't happen as much, and also they wouldn't get compared. I mean, it's very natural to compare your children to each other. But I didn't want the teachers to do that as well. Whereas if they're in the same class, I thought they'd get compared more. So again, I wanted them separated for that reason as well. Now, I think that was all the reasons why we did it. There were a few issues that I didn't think through, which weren't a big deal. But on the first day of school, you're taking your child into school. You take them at this school, I don't know if it's all the same, but you go into the class with them. Okay, now I've got 2 children in 2 different classes. How do I do this? And unfortunately, Chloe did sort of miss out a bit because she was the slightly more confident one. I ended up having to stay with Lucy because she was a bit more clingy. I don't think that's affected Chloe long term, but as a mum, in your guilt, it's like, oh God, I've just left my child. I've just left them because I'm having to sort out the other one. I mean, I suppose you get that, you know, it's mum guilt, isn't it? We feel guilty about everything. And also, something that happened quite early on is obviously they get invited to parties, and you get the ones where they invite the whole class. I didn't want people to invite the other one because they felt they had to. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want them to think, oh God, or not invite them. That was the thing. I was thinking, I didn't want them to not invite Chloe because they think, oh God, then we have to invite Lucy. I didn't want then Chloe to miss out because of that. I mean, the things we think of, I don't know. It took a little while before people actually realised that they were twins anyway, because as I say, different classes. But then what happened is I think it was Chloe got invited to quite a lot of parties. I don't know if it was whether she seemed to make friends a bit easier, I think, than Lucy. I don't know if it was because of the type of children that were in their classes. Chloe found it easier to make friends. I don't know, but she seemed to get a nice little group of friends quite quickly, whereas Lucy always seemed to be on the outside of a group. So Chloe got invited to a lot of parties, which obviously Lucy didn't, which is fine because, as I said, I didn't want her being invited just because, and I'm not sure Chloe wanted her there. She wanted to be with her friends. But obviously Lucy did get a bit upset at times, you know, when Chloe's going off to Build-A-Bear for a party and Lucy's not getting to go. But it's something that, you know, she learnt to deal with, and that's life, if you like, isn't it? That's how they had to deal with it. But also I think it's now they're at secondary school. They were used to being separated. They're used to having to sort of not fend for themselves, but having to, you know, not rely on their twin all the time. So I think it made the transition to secondary school easier than what it would have been if they were together. That's, as I say, my personal opinion for my twins. I know a lot of people that have put theirs in the same class, and that's fine. If that's what suits your twins and your children, then go for it. But I can only go by my experience, couldn't think of the word then, my experience and what was right for my twins, and I 100% believe that was the right thing to do for them. As hard as it was and as much as it broke my heart to separate them, I knew it was the right thing for them, and actually it was. It really was the best thing for them. So it is something you need to look at, and I know there's a lot of like now is the time you're looking at secondary schools. Well, you are looking at secondary schools as well, but you're looking at schools, and it is something that you might, it might be crossing your mind whether you want to do or not. So if you are going through that, if you've got any questions, then feel free to drop them in the comments down below. I'm happy to, help anyone. I know on like twins forums and stuff, this is something that comes up all the time. But as much as people can give you advice, at the end of the day, you've got to make that decision, and only you as I say, know your children and what would work better for them. So I hope that this has been helpful to anyone with twins who are looking, you know, trying to decide whether to separate them or not. So yeah, hope it's been helpful. Good luck, and I'll see you all in the next video.